All right, start from the left.
I mean, this kind of gets brought up with every fight these last three since we've changed Jackson's camp. But really, what is the biggest difference between Clay Guida right now and Clay Guida 2 years ago?
I'm just rededicated. Structure and training. And like he was saying before, I belong in the gym. Instead of driving an hour and a half when I was living back home near Chicago to the gym, I redirect those times driving twice a day to the gym to being at the gym. So just more confidence in my training. So rededicated myself, and I'm hungry as ever.
In the cage, though, what do you think is the biggest difference between now and then? Because obviously you're doing things well. You're on a 3-fight win streak. What's different now than it was then as far as Clay in the cage?
Getting back to the old Clay. If you look at my record and look at my wins before the UFC, I had a bunch of submissions and ground and pound TKO, stuff like that. Just fighting my fight. Kenny Florian, I thank him for that loss. Kind of changed my life a little bit. I fought his fight instead of going out and doing my thing, fighting my game plan. And when I attack, 90% of the time I get my hand raised.
Can you talk about your thoughts on this matchup when it was first presented to you? I mean, were you excited about it, or you got to welcome the WC guy in? What were your thoughts on it?
Oh, excellent. I'm a fan of Anthony Pettis first, and now I'm honored to be able to get in there and show him what the UFC is all about. He's got that WC belt. I remember my last fight in the WC before I fought in the UFC, so he's got a lot of momentum behind him. He's got 3 or 4 or 5 wins in a row over some tough opponents. Are they UFC worthy? We'll find out in the coming months. Is he UFC worthy? We'll find out in the next couple of days.
What are your feelings on that? Because it seems like that's been kind of a point of discussion. Are these WC guys UFC worthy or not? But he had some pretty tough fights down there.
Most definitely, yeah. He didn't fight any slouches. You know what I mean? So we're gonna see what he's made of. I was glad to see he wasn't tired in that 25-minute battle against Ben Henderson, which was candidate for fight of the year. He came out on top against Shane Roller. Real tough All-American wrestler. So I'm super excited to see what's in store.
We usually think about you like outworking guys, out-energizing guys, but like you said, that fight with Henderson, he went deep for 5 rounds. So
definitely.
Do you feel like that's still going to be an advantage for you in this fight, or is he kind of more even on your plane?
Always. I think I'm positive. I know I train harder than everyone. Everyone trains hard in the UFC, in mixed martial arts, but I know I outwork everybody. They're probably higher skilled, more skilled than me, better fighters all around. But when it comes down to nitty-gritty, when it comes down to hard work and just heart, you ain't gonna find anyone better.
Is it frustrating? All it seems like most of the discussion is if he gets a title shot, if he wins, what's next for him in this fight, and not really maybe so much on what's next for you if you win this fight.
That's a big if. I'm gonna silence the critics come Saturday.
How are you so confident you outwork everyone?
I just know. I go to bed at night. I put in the hours. I wake up in the morning hungrier than ever, and that's been I've been the underdog my whole life. So I know that's pretty much my job, to outwork everybody and just go out there and show what I'm made of.
Clay, because Anthony's coming in with so much momentum and so much hype, does it give you greater incentive to try to rain on his parade?
Nothing against him, but absolutely. It's the UFC. It's a big show. He fought very well on his last big performances, the main event against Ben Henderson, Shane Roller, the co-main event. So he's been in the big show for a little while, but he's about to find out what Showtime's all about.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Obviously, he's not going to run off the fence again, but do you prepare for something like that, unpredictable? How do you prepare for the unpredictable?
We got a lot of guys back at Jackson's that are very creative, very imaginative, doing high-flying circus stuff off the cage, Donald Cerrone, a great kickboxer. John the Magician Dodson, guy does backflips, during his fights and things like that. So we got Carlos Condit, working with tall, rangy, lanky guys that can control the cage, and we've been shutting them down. So we'll see what Saturday night has to offer.
Mama and Papa, Guida, leading team.
Yeah, they're already around, man. Right. They're already around supporting, man. Keep an eye out for them.
There's obviously so much focus on that one kick, but what do you see when you see Pettis fight? What do you prepare for from him?
He's super confident. He's kind of, like I said, very creative. He's kind of a counter striker. But I think Ben Henderson didn't fight to his advantages. He didn't fight to his strengths. I think maybe he respected Anthony striking a little bit too much. Gave him a little bit too much room to kind of do his, work his offense. You ain't gonna see that twice.
Clay, after those 2 losses, I don't know how much you pay attention to this, but some fans were kind of saying like, well, Clay is a great fighter, we love watching him fight, but they kind of labeled you as that gatekeeper status, the guy who can't really compete for the title but can kind of give guys tests on the way there. How much did you notice that, and what impact did it have on your mindset?
My record in the UFC, 8-5, doesn't sit well with me. It's very it drives me more and more every day, and there's always gonna be people that call us gatekeeper, call the journeyman, things like that. But they're going to find out what the real number one contender is all about, myself.
Did you think there was any truth to that back then, and now you've kind of revamped yourself, or do you think you just weren't ready back then? Or?
I think it was premature. You know, it was a couple of fights. You know, against Huerta, people were talking title. Against Diego, people were talking title. I think it was premature, and I'm more ready than ever now.
With your win over Gomi, you've had several wins. You mentioned number one contender. With the win over Pettis, do you see yourself as the number one guy?
Saturday night with a dominating win. Don't let it go to the judges. Don't let it be boring. Go out there and I fight my fight. You know, I bring the pain. He's going to feel it. And the UFC, Joe Silva, Dana White, they're going to realize, you know, who they want in their for the title shot.
As soon as he knew he wasn't getting a title shot, he said you were the guy he wanted. He asked for you. Kind of, what'd you make of that? What was your reaction to that?
Awesome. I think it's the biggest mistake he's ever made in his career. I envy a guy. You know, I think that's great that he doesn't want to sit around and wait, because now it could be, you know, upwards of 6 months, maybe a year before these guys are ready to go at it again. So I think it's great for me, not so great for him.